Hi everyone, welcome to another family art project with myself. I'm Autumn, the education coordinator here at Studio 23. If you were able to catch the previous segment with Tara, you saw that we were featuring the art of Stephen Parkhurst. You also might have heard a little bit about how much Stephen Parkhurst was influenced by, or is influenced by architecture and architectural detail. So I thought for a family project today, we would do a fun architecture project. So this is what we're going to be working on today. Let me get it a little closer for you so you can see what we're doing. So this is a building with a stained glass window. That's what we're going to be working on. As far as supplies go, you're not going to need a lot. I'm using a large, like a 12 by 18 sheet of construction paper. If you don't have black, that's okay. I just thought it was, it kind of gave it a nice mood, especially because I'm using oil pastels. You could use any kind of paper you have. Like I've said before, you can even use cardboard. Whatever you have around the house that you can use will work just fine. So I'm using a 12 by 18 sheet of paper, and then you're also going to want Sharpies, and I have a big bucket here for my students, but just a bunch of different color Sharpies. You want the Sharpie because they're permanent, and that's what's gonna stick on our old CDs that we're also using. That's how we created the stained glass. It's just from an old CD, and I'm sure you guys have those laying around. I feel like people have those laying around everywhere, right? The other thing, like I mentioned before, is we're also going to be using oil pastels. If you have never heard of oil pastels, they're fun to use. They're great for kids to use. They're like crayons' cooler older brother. So if you and you can get them anywhere. You buy them online. I've even bought some at Five Below. You can get them for really inexpensive. So check them out. They're a great little artist tool for really people of all ages. And then the other two things that I'm using, which you don't have to have, is I'm using a ruler, and then you are going to need some glue to attach your CD at the end. So that is what we have as far as supplies. Let me go ahead and adjust those cameras really quickly, and we'll get going on the project. All right. I think we are good. So, like I was saying, Stephen Parkhurst is inspired by architecture, right? So that's why we decided to do this, this building. And this type, architecture really is just, it's art and technique of designing and building a structure, right? So big fancy word for creating a building. This particular building is, I'll say, reminiscent of Gothic architecture, which is just an old type of architecture that they especially used in Europe. And some of the things they use that you can kind of say, oh yeah, that's definitely Gothic architecture, would be large stained glass windows. So this right here, right, that might be a giveaway. And pointed arches. So we're using some points here, here. That might be a giveaway, right? And ornate decorating. So you see I've given detail. On the roof, I gave some ornate detail, and here, and even here. And these are all things that you can teach your student about Gothic architecture. All right, so I'm gonna move this really quickly. And we're gonna flip this over on the back. All right. So to get things going, what I like to do when I start this project is I like to fold my paper right down the middle. And it doesn't have to be anything super super, you know, like a big hard crease. It can be a very basic crease. But what that is going to do, it's going to help us create symmetry for our Gothic architecture. And if you're trying to do a little art lesson for your student, you know, symmetry is really just having the same size objects around an axis. So it's basically used to create proportion and balance. So those are some great art terms you can teach your student while you're doing this project. So what you're going to do is you have your line down the middle so you can make some symmetry, and then you can really just start going for it. I think you could use any colors you want. You know, students especially like to see colors, and I mean, why not, right? So you can go for it. Let's see, I'll pull out some nice colors. All right, and then you're gonna just start creating your piece. And I'm gonna use that line. Here, I'll do it this way, actually. So it's right side up for you guys. I'm gonna use the line from the fold, and I'm gonna create the roof of my building. And I'm gonna eyeball this. It doesn't have to be exact. This is really something I'm just working on to have some fun. All right. There's my roof. Now, you don't have to use the ruler if you don't want to. You can kind of eyeball it. So if I want to make some points up here, I might say, okay, here's here and here, so I have an idea, and then, you know, draw in some little shapes like that. So you don't have to get too exact with it. And I mean, if you want to, it's only going to make your project look better, but you do not have to do that. And then from there, you're just going to keep going for it. So I might do the same thing down here. I might have my circle here. Let's see. So I can measure these out a little bit, and then just go for it and draw some arches, right? Like pointed arches, because I said I wanted this to be Gothic architecture, or inspired by Gothic architecture. And I think you could get as carried away with this, or you can, you know, keep it pretty easy breezy. So I think for example, I think that's good enough. If you want to do the ornate roof, that was just, I just made a upside down wave design to create that ornate roof. And you can add as much detail like that as you want. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my CD so I know exactly where it's going to sit. And I think it'll sit about here. We're just going to trace that out. All right, good to go. So I know I don't have to color on that because it's going to be covered. And then from there, I'm just going to go for it. So really, whatever colors you want to use, you know, maybe you want to use some blue. And look at how beautifully the oil pastels show up on this dark paper. That's one of the things I love about it. You know, and students really seem to love that too. I mean, look, that's gorgeous. The other thing I love is you can blend it. Now, I use my finger because I don't mind getting messy, but if your student doesn't like to get messy, you could always use a little tissue or a little paper towel or something like that. It'll blend just fine also. So I'm just going to keep going in, and I'm going to keep adding my colors. Now you see when I'm drawing, I'm holding my oil pastel like a pencil, but if I want to fill in a space pretty quickly, I can hold it on the side like a shader, right? And it's really going to make it go even faster. So that's that's another little tip to show your student as well. Make it go a little faster. Now when you're doing these little areas, you will want to hold it like a pencil to fill it in, right? Just scribble that in really quickly. And then you could go in and let's see, we'll do a little orange here, and I'll draw just so I don't lose the shape of my ornate roof. And then I'll go in and use it like a shader. now I'm gonna go in, use it like a shader so I can go. And if I get some inside this circle, it's not the end of the world because it's gonna be covered, right? All right, so I got my orange colored in, and then if I want, I can go in and blend it, you know? I could do a lot of things with it. I could use another color and create a type of, maybe a design, like a brickwork or something. So if I wanted to, I could use a ruler. I could just go in with some lines. Right, and I'll do this really quickly. But you could just go in, and that's kind of the details that I was talking about, right? Because we're talking about, we're focusing on architecture, like Steve Parkhurst loves to focus on architecture with his artwork. And so that's what we're trying to focus on, is architectural details. So we could create brick, do a lot of different things with that. Let's see. And then we're gonna go down here, fill this in. Again, you could fill that in with pretty much any color you wanted. Let's see, we'll do some purple. And that looks really nice against the black also. So if you could get your hands on some black construction paper, I think your student would have a really fun time with it. And we're just gonna color that in just like that. And again, you can blend it if you want. I'll leave that for time. And then you're just gonna wanna color in your arches. And I think we'll do red. Scribble that in. Scribble that in. Now, another thing that you can do when you're all done is take a black oil pastel and kind of go in and create a little bit of shadow to help differentiate between your colors, especially if your student has blended. They might have blended some of their colors together, which might look beautiful, or it might kind of mess up your painting a little bit, or I don't want to say mess it up, but make it a little bit harder to differentiate between, let's say, the roof and the brick or something like that, right? So you can easily go in with this black and create a little bit of shadow. It'll help it pop out a little bit from the rest of the drawing. And you can even blend that in if you want. You know, you don't have to leave it like that. And you can go in however you want, really. You could just kind of go in and so once you have your drawing done, and I'll flip this over to my original one. See, I even added some detail, more ornate detail here on the bottoms. And then you're gonna draw on your CD. So super simple. If you see, I've just drawn some different random designs. But what I've done is, because it's a CD and it's a circle, you'll notice I decided to use radial symmetry, which that's, we were talking about symmetry earlier. But radial symmetry is really just symmetry like we discussed, but it's around a central axis, so like a middle point, right? So think like a starfish, a flower, the sun, or spokes on a wheel. Radial symmetry starts in the middle, moves its way out. That's a great way to think of it. So I used that, so I drew some lines, and then I just filled in little spaces with all different patterns. And your student could get as crazy with that as they want. And then literally, as soon as they're done, it's just as simple as gluing on their window, and that's it. And that is my project, inspired by the architectural styled artwork of Stephen Parkhurst. If you try this project out, we would love to see what you're working on. So share it with us on either our Facebook or our Instagram, shoot us a message, whatever. We would love to see what you're working on. That's it for me, and Val is up next. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend, and we will see you all next week. Bye.